It's Mr. H here, and I'm going to be reading to you Dolores Huerta, Advocate for Women and Workers by Linda Bargorn. And we'll get started right away. Here we go. So here's the table of contents. The chapters: Early Influences, Inspiring an Activist, Grassroots Beginning, and A Lifetime of Accomplishment. Introduction. Dolores Huerta. Everyone has a story to share. These stories are known as biographies, and they help us better understand each other and the world around us. Some people's stories might be well known, but others may not. Even a story that isn't well known can be remarkable and can inspire others. This is because everyone has different ideas of what makes someone remarkable. Many remarkable people show certain qualities such as commitment, sacrifice, and good values. As you read through Dolores Huerta's story, look for qualities in her that many people consider to be remarkable. Activist and role model. Dolores Huerta grew up in California's San Joaquin Valley, surrounded by many farm workers' families who lived in desperately poor conditions. She became determined to help them and committed her life to providing dignity and justice for both farm workers and women. The strength and determination she showed throughout her struggle has made her a respected role model for many people. Chapter 1: Early Influences. Dolores Huerta was born on April 10, 1930, in Dawson, New Mexico. Her family roots were in Mexico. When Dolores was 3, her parents, Juan Fernandez and Alicia Chavez, divorced. Dolores moved with her mother and 2 brothers to Stockton, California. They lived in a small farming community among poor immigrant families who came from many different countries. Single-parent family. Dolores grew up during a time known as the Great Depression. Dolores' mother struggled to hold 2 jobs just to make enough money to support her young family. Dolores' grandfather, Herculano, often took care of the children. Dolores adored him. He joked with her, calling her 7 tongues because she talked so much. Although life was difficult, Dolores enjoyed a loving and happy family. Her mother and grandfather were very strong influences in her life. A mother's influence. Dolores' mother was a hard worker. Later, she bought a restaurant and a hotel. She always welcomed the low-wage farm laborers and treated them kindly, even when they couldn't afford to pay her. She was also active in the community church and local organizations. Dolores and her brothers shared chores at home and at their mother's business. Dolores was always treated as an equal at home. At the time, this was unusual for a girl. Dolores admired her mother's independence and entrepreneurial spirit. Alicia taught her the importance of treating everyone with respect. Distant father figure. After her parents' divorce, Dolores rarely saw her father. He worked in the coal mines and became a migrant worker picking crops. He was often frustrated by the poor working conditions and low wages. Determined to improve workers' rights, he joined a labor union and became a leader. Later, he gained a position in the New Mexico state government for 1 term. When Dolores was older, she reconnected with her father. His involvement in labor issues inspired her to become an activist. Field laborers. The town of Stockton was in the San Joaquin Valley, home to many fruit, vegetable, cotton, and cattle farms. Although farm owners ran successful businesses, the field laborers who worked for them were often very poor. Some of these laborers were migrant workers who came to pick the crops during harvest season. Although laws stated how farm laborers should be treated, many farm owners ignored them. Workers were often disrespected, mistreated, and poorly paid. Poor working conditions. Farm laborers worked long days in extreme heat and were exposed to dangerous chemicals. Their families lived in shacks with no heat, running water, or toilets. For their hard work, they often received less than $1 an hour. Migrant workers had even fewer rights. Many did not have legal status to work in America and risked being sent back to their country if the U.S. government found them. They could not get health insurance or welfare benefits if they lost their jobs or were injured. Chapter 2: Inspiring an Activist. Dolores' mother worked hard to provide her children with music lessons and after-school activities. Dolores learned to play the violin and piano and took dance lessons. As a student in Stockton High School, Dolores was popular, enthusiastic, and hard-working. She could speak English and Spanish. Like her mother, Dolores was also active in her community. She participated in school clubs and belonged to a Girl Scout troop. At her church, Dolores sang in the choir and belonged to the youth group. Discrimination. Unfortunately, it was in high school where Dolores says she felt discrimination for the first time. Several teachers were suspicious of her academic success. They believed that her Mexican-American background meant she wasn't as smart as other students. They felt she was incapable of achieving the same level of success that other non-ethnic students achieved. She was once accused of stealing another student's work. The prejudice that many Mexican immigrants frequently experienced came as a shock to young Dolores, who was accustomed to being treated as an equal. Short teaching career. Dolores graduated from high school in 1947 and continued her studies at the University of the Pacific's Delta College in Stockton, where she earned a teaching degree. She was the first person in her family to attend college. This was unusual for Hispanic women at the time. Most got married and stayed home to raise families. Dolores accepted a teaching job, but soon became frustrated by the poverty of the farm workers' children she was teaching and her inability to help them. The Passionate One. Dolores joined the Stockton chapter of the Community Service Organization, CSO. This was a Mexican-American group who supported local working-class families. There she met Cesar Chavez, who shared her goal of helping the farm laborers. They made a great team. Cesar was a lively leader, while Dolores was a talented organizer and negotiator. Her defiant style and tireless commitment earned her the nickname La Pasionaria, La Pasionaria, or the Passionate One. Pardon my Spanish.